Join Dream Motors and Dylan Video on Saturday, October 30th from 4 to 7 p.m. for Trunk or Treat. Join Dream Motors and Dylan Video on Saturday, October 30th from 4 to 7 p.m. for Trunk or Treat.
But the bar downstairs. That's right. That means you don't want to.
ready? I'll start the regular meeting of the City Council to order for October 6, 2021, and call Raymond lead us in a pledge.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first item, minutes.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Dan, seconded by Russ. Any discussion? Question's been called for to approve the September 15th, 2021 regular meeting minutes of the City Council. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that as unanimous. Okay. Next item is petitions, communications. First thing is Mr. Berman is going to have a short little presentation.
Yes, right there.
Up there.
Okay.
Is it on?
My name is John Berman. I own the Higher Standard, which is the medical marijuana dispensary here on Montana Street. And I'm here before y'all tonight. I'm sorry?
Can we, make sure the microphone's
You're not
on?
here?
It is.
It's lit up.
It's lit up. I turned it on.
Oh, okay.
Is it working?
I'm not hearing it.
Okay. Well, I'm here to ask y'all to consider two things. The first one is to approve the sale of adult use marijuana in the city of Dillon come January 1st. And the second one is to approve a 3% local tax on the sale of that adult use marijuana here in Dillon. Come January 1st, the possession of adult use marijuana will be legal statewide here in Montana. So it's going to be in Dillon, whether it is sold in Dillon and taxed in Dillon or not. So that is really the gist of what I'm up here for tonight. The tax, I estimate it to be about $100,000 to $150,000 a year in revenue for the city. That comes from the amount of money that we're doing in the medical sales right now in Dillon. And the fact that every state that has gone from medical to adult use sales has seen about a 5-fold increase in sales it takes about 2.5 years to do that. Colorado, Washington, Oregon, all experienced similar increases. Currently here in Dillon, we're doing right at $1 million in medical sales. And so over the next 3 years, that's going to go to $5 million. Probably will be $3 million this first year, because what the other states have done. And that would be $90,000, $100,000 in revenue if you approve the 3% tax. So there's substantial money for the city. The other benefit of being approved by the city council is that y'all can control what's approved and what's not. If it goes to a vote for the citizenry of Dillon, they could be asked to approve the sale of adult use marijuana and the production or the production of marijuana here within the city limits. They could also decline the 3% sales tax. I don't believe growing marijuana here in Dillon is appropriate. I do believe selling and taxing it here is. It's going to be here anyway. Take advantage of it, of the financial benefits it will bring to the city. That's all I got.
Why the 3%? Is that a state mandate, that 3%, or like could the city say 5%?
Yeah, no,
Or was
no,
it- there's-
under the law, Senate Bill 701, it allows a local option 3% tax.
And now, we're not really asking for a vote. I already told John that this won't be a vote. If anything, it'll be assigned to a committee. And there they can collect more facts, have the city attorney prepared at that time to respond, you know, to whatever questions might be on how to do it.
Okay.
I'm not sure myself, I'm not sure if the council can just vote, or can we just vote to send it to an election? I think we can do that.
Right.
Maybe, not sure. That's where we gotta give the city attorney some chance to look into it.
Well, I wanted this presentation just to start that conversation.
Right. So would you guys want to assign it to a committee to discuss further? Still just discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I move we pass this on to judicial for further consideration.
I second.
Any further discussion?
Call for the question.
Okay, all those in favor of sending it to judicial, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Okay, this is being sent to judicial. Judicial is the third Tuesday. What date would that be? Please, Todd.
The third Tuesday? 19th.
The 19th, that's, I'm assuming, it's usually been 4. I'm not, if everybody can still made it, it'll be 4. Just look up, it will send it out at least 2 days before, 48 hours before. But usually it's standard, it's 4 o'clock. Okay,
All right, thank you for your time.
yeah.
Thanks, John.
Okay, next one is just an email that I got. Instead of going to the conferences like the League of Cities and MMIA, they're also MMIA and the local government centers putting together, let's just say, classes. I don't know, you can look on here to find out, you know, what options, what are they gonna talk about for 6 weeks? This is still, I think this is still like a webinar kind of thing. Yeah, online course. So, you know, if you guys want, just sign up or have us sign you up. Come tell us which ones you guys want to take the class. It's a 6-week class, so it should end by the end of this year. And I don't know what they cover, but they probably cover quite a bit. First one, I'll bet you money, is how does local government work? What's the duties of council, mayor, judge? They'll probably talk about budgets and taxes. And I'm just saying, that's just kind of standard stuff. So anybody that wants, just probably come tell Jamie and we'll get signed up. Says we gotta write a check. Is the only reason I'm telling Jamie. Okay? Next item is we have a kind of a status report by Kevin Johnson from Dow on our river crossing down Washington and Idaho Street project.
Well, good evening, everybody. Good to see you all again. Can you hear me all right? Okay. Well, it's Kevin Johnson with Dow Engineering, project manager for your water system improvement project. Just here to give you a monthly update, have a monthly progress meeting with the contractor. So I'll kind of step through the various areas of the project and just let you know kind of the status and the plan moving ahead for the next few weeks. So we call it Schedule 1. That's the water transmission main from the west side water storage tank all the way into the fairgrounds. That work was not scheduled to start until about now. October to November is the plan for that project to, that portion of the project to correspond with the window when it's not flood irrigated and before it's really cold. So we're still hoping it's not really cold before they get done with that part of the project. The first thing they need to do is, it's high-density polyethylene pipe that gets fused together. That is essentially gonna be done tomorrow, so they've got about 7,600 feet of that pipe already fused. It's strung out across Herb and Wheat's property as well as through the fairgrounds, awaiting the tie-ins. They're gonna start at the fairgrounds, do all the tie-ins to the existing system, and start working their way west. That's gonna start basically next week. So it's on schedule. The part of that that's not done that we were hoping would be done, there are 3 horizontal jack and bore crossings, one under the interstate, one under the river, and one under a little creek out in the field. Those are delayed. The subcontractor for that work's been held up. So we were hoping those would all be done by the time the pipeline got there, but that's not gonna be the case. They can pretty much work around it, not a problem by any means. They gotta connect on either side of those bores anyway. So that works a little bit behind schedule, but otherwise, that Schedule 1 portion of the project is started when it was supposed to start. And they'll be digging real soon out here next week in the fairgrounds area. So we're hoping that that can all get tied in here. It needs to get tied in here before, hoping November 30th, because that would leave them only 2 more months of contract time to come back next spring and finish all the downtown work. So that's Schedule 2, we call it. That's about 7,000 feet of water distribution system replacement that you've been driving through the last 2 months here downtown, or just south of us here. They're done with as far as they're going to go this season. They're getting up against the paving limit. We're already at a point where just in time to not have any more temporary water laying on the ground to anybody's house while they're replacing the existing pipeline. So they picked up the last of the temporary water. They have a tie-in to make next week, or actually this week yet. They're still gonna be making a tie-in on Bannock. And they'll be done with the underground distribution work for this season. They've started to prepare for asphalt this week, which essentially means they're cutting down 4 inches of gravel that they've restored up to the top of the water line and water service line trenches. They'll get that all stripped out and they'll pave. So it's supposed to be about 20 degrees Monday and Tuesday. You know, Murphy's Law says right about when you're ready to pave, it's gonna get cold. So expected to warm up thereafter. It's supposed to be 40 degrees and rising for a paving operation to proceed. So we're right at that bubble every year up against that, trying to get things black. So they may get delayed a little bit on some of the preparation because they can't get it all prepped to use a 4-inch gap, and those streets need to remain closed. So they may get held up a little bit there and just have to stop prepping until they can get probably Orr, Reeder, and Idaho paved. Then they can open up those streets and continue prepping Washington and up to Bannock. So that's the plan, weather permitting, over the next, really next week. We'd hope they would be paving part of this late next week, and they'll pave as long as they can, hopefully to get everything black that they've torn up this year. They'll get the streets cleaned up. At that point, the sidewalks that have been cut will get repaired. Curb and gutter will have been repaired so they can pave up against it. And it'll get cleaned up and just get out of town, basically, for the season, and they'll continue working on the transmission main until they're done, hopefully, or it just becomes just unworkable. They have a pretty narrow window in the spring to do any cleanup out there before it starts getting flood irrigated. So whatever restoration they may need to do next spring will need to happen out there in late March, early April. They were flood irrigating by the pre-bid meeting in April 11th or something last year because it was so dry. They turned it in early. So it's a pretty narrow window to do anything next spring. So the idea is they get the pipe in, they get it flattened out, they get it seeded either this fall or early next spring, and then Herb and Wheats can return to normal operations out there on their property. So that's pretty much the schedule for the work. The Schedule 3 is Idaho Street, and that'll just be part of the work in the spring. They're gonna be pushing the envelope on contract time next year to be able to get everything done in basically 2 months, assuming they shut down the end of November. We issue suspend work order and resume work in the spring, and the calendar days will stop counting during that suspend work order. So 2 months is not a lot of time to do everything that's gonna be left out here. So they had a slow start. We started basically 2 months late, waiting for materials to get here. And that's not a very efficient way to go. It's not a very efficient way to go out there to restart next year. We were hoping to be done this year, and they would have been if they had been able to start. But 1st of June was the plan, June through November. So we'll see. We just monitor that as we go, and we'll see where they end up in the spring here with contract time and deal with it then.
Is the Low River helping them guys with their boring under the river?
Is who?
The water being so low in the Beaver Head River, is that an advantage to them boring under the river? Does that make any difference to them?
It doesn't hurt. It's a little bit less hydrostatic water pressure, but at least it isn't flooding out. I mean, that certainly wouldn't help, but it can certainly hurt.
I was hoping that being this low, they'd be able to get right under it a lot quicker.
Yeah, I don't know if it'll make a whole lot of difference, but I think it might affect the amount of dewatering they might have to do, because they're gonna be dewatering like crazy to keep the excavation open while they jack into the river. So.
Yeah, how far was it, like 20-some feet under the river, wasn't it?
No, we're about 9.
Was it 9?
You do a big scour analysis and figure out worst case scour, and then you go like 4 feet below that. So it's not 20. We were gonna be 20 if we directionally drilled it.
The freeway was 20, 25, wasn't it?
Yeah, I don't think it even is. The 20 foot maybe in your mind was when we were looking at directionally drilling it.
Right, oh, okay.
And when they go into surface, and they have to be really deep.
Yeah.
Because when they pull the pipe back through, it generates a lot of pressure, and they fill the hole with this drilling mud, and they don't want that shooting up into the river. So that's why they want to be so deep. That's why we ended up jacking and boring this horizontally versus a directional drill.
Okay.
Any other questions about just general status? So you can tell the neighbors and everybody that we're still hoping this thing is black, just south of us here by the end of the year. Sidewalks done, cleaned up, temporary water pipes are gone as of now. So that's, and just pray for really like a week of weather. Should I go ahead and talk about the next item on your agenda?
Next item on the agenda is mayor's report. And it's approved change order number 2 for the water line crossing project. Let Kevin explain each item.
So we have a few items on this change order, a couple of them. I'll kind of start at the bottom of the list. A couple water service lines, everything in the project, at least downtown, is a 3/4 inch water service. Didn't have any records telling us otherwise. We found one that's 2 inch going into the water park there. We're going to replace it in kind. We found a 1 inch, replaced it in kind. Didn't have bid items for those items in this schedule. So it needs to officially be a change order administratively to get it included in. We will probably have more of those. We're expecting we get downtown. I mean, we got, across the street and the block down, there's like one shut-off valve and there's a whole block of building. So we don't know if we're gonna find more, if we're gonna need to put in more or what, but there'll probably be some more of those. We'll have extra parts on hand for when those issues come up, we'll replace it in kind. But we don't have bid items for those because if we can't show them on the plans, we can't really put a bid item in the documents because they don't know how to bid it. So that's what those are for. We had some additional restoration related to where the service lines go up to the curb lines. They got to cut the curb, cut the sidewalk, cut a driveway. Item 3 there was a relatively new approach. Your sloped approach that goes into a driveway. By the time we cut a big hole out of a relatively brand new driveway, we kind of looked at that and said, well, that's really not restoring to like existing conditions. So we pulled out about 5 feet other side, replaced the approach. It was just the right thing to do, but it was beyond what the contractor was scoped to do, so he needed to get paid for that extra work. Similar thing with the concrete curbs. There were just some areas there that, we quit trying to quantify that on these projects years ago. So that was basically a lump sum item in their bid. And it's really up to them to minimize how much they take out. So they'll only do like a 30-inch cut, and then they'll try to cut it back, you know, to trim it up before they clean it up and pour the rest of the curb. Well, we had a few places here where they went beyond the limits that they really needed to, and just to tie into a better chunk of curb. But we're gonna really try to minimize that moving forward. We're gonna say, look, this is a lump sum item, it's paid as percent complete. You decide how much you need to take out to do however you wanna cut it, and be careful, and that's what you're paid for. You just paid as percent complete. So we're not expecting to add to this total unless we've got something. We have an example right there by the pharmacy where there was a hydrant run, pipe put out to a hydrant, and the trench was backfilled with like a pea gravel. It doesn't really compact and it doesn't hold. As soon as you cut next to it, it just caves in. Well, we've got a bunch of sidewalk hanging out over there. It's kind of, if you come across something like that, it's just all undermined now, and there's nothing the contractor can really do to mitigate that. So that would be an example where we're probably gonna have to buy a little more sidewalk or curb and gutter or whatever. So, but otherwise on these service lines, and wherever they gotta do the curb stops, we're just gonna, you know, say minimize what you need to do there, and that's the way the scope is written. So we don't really expect to see a lot more of that unless we come up with these weird conditions that there really isn't anything they can do about. The last item was some insulation board. A lot of your water mains were probably like hand dug. So they're like 4 feet deep in places. So as the services get up to the curb, they get pretty shallow. You know, so we knew that going in. I did make a call to add insulation to those service lines. They historically have not been an issue. When they were out there in the field and they're standing, you know, waist deep, and that's to the water main depth, they got a little nervous. They wanted some insurance in that, and they started to add some insulation board over those service lines. So they're done with that at this point. So we're going to talk further with Jason and the crew and say, do we want to do that on the rest of this or not? But that's what the insulation is. So just right where the connection is, where it comes up to from a 6.5 foot bury to a 4 foot bury. There's kind of some cheap insulation. About every inch of board is worth about a foot of insulation. So that's what that was for. So, I think that's about it.
Do we have a
Questions on
motion
that?
to accept it?
Move to approve.
Second.
How about Dan? Dan and Russ. Any further discussion, any questions for Kevin?
Sounds like you're doing a good job on it anyway. Doing a
It's going
good
pretty well.
project.
It's a couple really important weeks ahead of us as they dive in, plunge in, hopefully out there into the fields over there and do some critical tie-ins. And so, community's really happy with the contractor, their communication downtown, just helping people out. And it's just kind of a war zone when you're doing these projects, and the community's been really, really patient, really, really good. The contractors got a lot of compliments back to your council and the staff, just with them helping residents get around the work area, do what they need to do, and just be amicable to what needs to happen out there to work within a really big disturbed area. So they've been good to work with. So a little bit of that goes a long ways when they're out there on site. Okay.
Call for question.
The question's been called for to approve the change order number 2 for the water line crossing project. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that as unanimous. Thank you, Kevin.
Okay, all right, have a good night.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah,
thanks, Rick.
Okay, next one is an appointment. 3 weeks ago, somewhere in there, wasn't it, but 2? We had to get together with the county and with Area 5, Joe Gilboy, the director, and the solution came up with it. The city of Dillon will have an appointment to the board. And so I'm making an appointment for Debbie Pierce to the Area 5 Board of Directors.
Move to approve. Second.
Been moved by Bill, seconded by Ross. Discussion.
Mr. Mayor, does this mean that Dillon and Beaverhead County will have two seats on the Area 5 board?
Yes.
Will,
Well, Dillon will have one and Beaver County will have one.
and the other counties will,
To them. It's up to the board of directors of Area 5.
great.
Okay.
Call for the question.
Questions been called for to approve the appointment of Debbie Pierce to the Area 5 Board of Directors. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. We take that as unanimous. Next one, this was me. I put this back on because I missed it last time. And I looked through the stuff, I couldn't find it. I know we had some discussion on it, but I couldn't remember what the discussion was on what changed, so I just put it back on. First reading, no, there is some changes that we talked about to be done to it. So, and what it was is I screwed up last time, didn't put it on for second reading, to still change it if you so wanted. That was my screw up, and I think the rules, or at least this is the conservative part of it, is the rules say if you're supposed to have for ordinances one meeting and the next meeting is supposed to be the second reading. I missed the second reading meeting, so we're just starting it fresh again as first reading.
Move to approve.
Second?
It's been moved by Bill, seconded by Mary Jo. Discussion. Now, I know the public, and probably some of the council don't know that for a fact, but there are some questions on like abandoned vehicle, you know, to be in there. That got kind of a really great, you know, on that, or junk vehicles, because really, a junk vehicle gets kind of a touchy definition on a private. Because one of my vehicles might be called junk and it's not, it's a treasure. Okay, so, at least to me. So, that's where one of those discussions should be going here,
Yes.
if not some other places too. Now, I just put it on for first reading to discuss and change, because I didn't see anywhere that we ended up at the end of sending it to a committee. That's the only reason I put it here, is I didn't really see us sending it to a committee.
I thought health and welfare was playing on
No,
this one.
that was sent back to judiciary.
See, that's the thing, is I didn't really, there was discussion on it, but I don't think we ever decided. If we did, I made a mistake, I didn't know.
I believe there were some issues that Don brought up on legality of coming in and taking someone's property without going to court first.
Yeah.
Correct.
And I
That and
believe
the
we were
fence.
going to go back and
and some other
we'll
stuff.
discuss it with the attorney.
Yes.
Okay,
Because yeah, some of the stuff has got to still line up with what zoning has.
that's true.
Yes.
Zoning was another part of that that was discussed.
It said you have to waive the zoning one of two, this facing Trump's zoning,
Yes.
So
That's the other option you can do.
Move to send this back to committee.
Which one? Judicial?
Judiciary.
Or do you want to go another?
We keep getting.
Would health and welfare be a better one to start this at?
No.
Pardon me?
Would health and welfare be a better one to start this at? I don't know, I don't have a bias either way, it's just a
I
question.
don't either, yeah.
You
I
know,
was thinking
Be
fire
fresh
and order
eyes.
actually, because I can see some issues with the fire code.
Yeah.
Maybe with the fire department would be interested in some of the.
Oh, the fire and police. That's fire
Yeah,
and
police
ordinance.
and fire might be a good one to send it to.
Want to send it to that?
Yeah.
Okay. That would be Bill.
That would be me.
Okay.
Sorry, Bill.
All right. It's you too.
Now, we should, before we, is there any public that wanted to speak on it, or wait until Fire and Order Committee meets? Which is the fourth Monday, isn't it?
Yep.
is fire and order. Twenty-fourth of October, if you guys.
July 25th.
25th. Okay, so it'll be on that agenda for that, for fire and order, if you guys decide to vote.
At 4 o'clock, Russ?
What day?
At
Well,
4
Russ isn't
o'clock.
on, or no, he is, are you on that? I'm thinking health and welfare, you got me thrown off on it.
What day?
Would 4 o'clock work
What day?
on the 25th?
What day is that?
Monday.
Monday. Yeah, no, Mondays I'm out. 3
Something before
9
3.
o'clock. I teach. Some of us do have full-time jobs.
So 3
No, before 3.
or 2?
One.
I gotta
Would
leave
morning
here
be
by
better?
3.
How about 1?
1?
So I drive the speed limit going down Washington because that seems to be one of the properties y'all have issues with. So I can find a parking spot next to that because the stuff overflows onto the street.
Mr. Mayor, I think, some of this stuff we get into trouble because of, we coordinate this room with the judge. This
I ain't scared of the judge.
This particular part of the ordinance came to our attention, I believe, via Mr. Dolan, and it had to do with really toxic things that, I think there was some solid waste that was being extruded in someone's backyard. And so this really does have overshadowing health issues that go to it. The Health and Welfare Committee is not busy, and they would be happy to look at this.
Neither is fire and order.
Let's start with fire and order, to run down through there, then we can roll it back on over so the other committees can put their seal of approval on too, and maybe save some debate on full
For
council.
fire and order, we have a health committee member in there.
Okay.
And I'm a zoning board member. And so some of the issues we have members of.
By the time you get done massaging it, the issues may have gone away.
Yes.
Well, hopefully.
Okay, and then we hope the city attorney will research it a little more on some of the subjects that was brought up. I'll talk with you, make sure we both agree with the subjects.
So when is the meeting?
25th of October at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Sure.
And so the judge will not leave the room?
We ain't scared.
I will make sure that it's our room this time.
just gonna put it on the calendar.
We'll put it on the calendar and we'll just do a sit-in. And we'll both run the meetings at the same time. How's that?
Mr. Mayor, just out of curiosity here, does anywhere in the city code, do we have a definition of indecent?
Definition of what?
Indecent? Let's look at the paragraph here under community decay, third line down. That are injurious to the health or indecent, that sounds like a court issue right off the bat. So I was curious if we had some kind of definition of it someplace else. I don't know, I'm just asking.
You can define it. Yeah. Need more clarity, we can do that.
Because I know the courts in the past have struggled with what's decent and what's indecent. That's why I was asking.
Okay, we'll put a definition of either decency or indecency, whichever one seems to fit.
Thank you.
Any further discussion on the item? What, please, sir?
Thanks, Spencer. I think when we look at some of these bills, sometimes we have issues that are brought up that can be used in various different ways, whether it's politically motivated or whatever. When we have an issue that we're talking about water and sewer, why don't we just address the issue of that rather than throwing in all these other things that complicate things? Because, the issue of government is, anytime we want to take away our security for our freedoms, we tend to lose both in the process. So if we can just look at the issue at hand, water and sewage on the ground rather than all the other stuff, I think it'd be duly responsible for us to do that to keep these issues from coming up and create problems within the community.
Thank you. Is there anything else, or any other comments?
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to table this to fire the ordinance, first reading ordinance. We'll table it to fire an order, which is to be held on October 25th at 1 o'clock. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take it as unanimous. And anybody interested, come to the committee meeting. You come, you can help write it. Okay, next one was Mr. Hand.
If too many city council members want to come to the committee meeting, maybe let the mayor know in advance so we can actually call it as a
Council
special
meeting.
council meeting or something, just so they can speak,
Okay,
please.
please. Okay, next one is Mr. Hand. We asked for an advisory committee, he's formed one. If you guys so approve it.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Raymond, seconded by Bill. Discussion. Maybe Don, you want to explain why?
Okay, what I did here is I tried to get some original thinking, somebody that hasn't already got a biased view of what's there, or a narrow focus. I want more of a think tank, is what I tried. So I reached out in the community and grabbed 3 community members, then I grabbed 2 of us off the council, a little bit biased. Sorry, Mr. McGinley, but you're gonna get this one way or the other, so I figured I might as well just stick you on. Because, you know, a lot of us have certain pet projects, and maybe there's something else out there that we should look at. I don't know. But this gets us out of this narrow room of just this thought. So we're branching out, trying to get a more, as they say, a more robust solution. And that's why I put that in there, what I did. The comments on that page are entirely mine. They're not the mayor's, they're all mine. So if you have questions, please feel free to comment to me, not to the mayor. All the individuals have been contacted and expressed a desire and willingness. Told them probably about 4 meetings by the time it's all said and done. And they said that's fine with them. So it'll be short-lived, and they'll report basically back to the mayor, and who then share the thoughts with us, or some kind of a project ranking, or maybe just a grouping of these projects that fit in with what's allowed according to the Federal Register, which is what that bottom web page is. It's about 42 pages of enthusiastic reading. Some of it reads pretty fast, but some of it you gotta read a couple times. So that's how this came about.
Call for the question.
Questions we call for to approve the appointments for the ARPA committee members. That would be Rush Schwant, John McGinley, John Gary, Lindsay Burr, is it how you use it, Burr? And Jerry Godecki. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take that as unanimous.
Thank you.
And we'll sort of let you guys get together. You should probably assign one council person that's on here to call the other 3 or 4 to set a time up to have the first meeting.
Thanks, John.
Okay, John just a volunteer.
Will this have to be a posted meeting?
Oh, it's gotta be posted. You know, it's a public meeting on this. So,
John will get you a couple phone numbers.
Okay.
and you really, this is not saying you're the chairman or whatever, you're just gonna start the process. So, most likely though, you will be.
You're the trainer coming.
Okay, reports of officers and boards of the city, library board, Mr. McGinley.
I ask you to approve the minutes of the August 25th meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Okay, who wants to be nominated? Russ?
John and Bill.
Bill seconded?
Sure.
Okay. Discussion.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to accept the August 25th, 2021 meeting minutes of the library board. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. take that as unanimous.
And the library, the jail time, she called me, sounded like it was a success, but she didn't give me any numbers or anything, so. I thought she might be here today.
Okay, we'll move on then.
And then just as a reminder, to October 29th, Murder Mystery, right across the street.
Yeah,
Great event.
it's a dinner.
Tickets are on sale at Womack Spring, starting
And
today.
library. And the library.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I might even go, as long as I don't have to
Good
ask.
entertainment.
Thank you. Next one, city attorney, Mr. Dolan.
Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. There we go. I've been attending the virtual meetings for the Montana League of Cities and Towns. The sessions have been informative when they're not interrupted by glitches. So I've got to be honest, I'm a little disappointed, and I'm sure other people are too. So I don't want to have my comments construed as throwing anybody under the bus, but it's really hard debate to focus on a session when it crashes a couple of times and the slides don't work. Anyway, moving on, the Skradsky case, the discovery process is continuing in that. There may be some depositions scheduled in that case going forward. I don't have anything more to comment or add to that this time. The case involving the city's suit against Beaverton County over the Pluck Minor subdivision, where the attorneys are reviewing the record per the scheduling order of the court. I've been working with Mayor Clacken on this and will continue to do so going forward. And let's see, with the criminal work, it's proceeding as usual. We did attend a DUI training in Alder. It was actually originally supposed to be in Virginia City. It was put on by the Montana Department of Justice on Friday, September 24th. The two statistics I guess I'll share with you are that there's an increase in DUIs above 0.16, which is twice the legal limit, and we're also seeing an increase in marijuana DUIs as well. So, and I know that I've certainly seen my share of marijuana DUIs here at the city level. I would say we've certainly seen our share of DUIs that are 0.16 or greater. So I think those statistics seem to square with what my experience has been locally. Other than that, I'd be happy to entertain questions. The virtual meeting continues through Friday, so hopefully tomorrow things will be a little smoother.
What do you contribute those increases to? Is it COVID or other things?
They didn't really say at the conference. They just said that of the DUIs that have been reported, the convictions anyway, have been quite higher.
The reason I ask is because supposedly the suicide rates are up because of all this sort of stuff. And I was just wondering if that's some of it.
That might be something
The
that
added free money has a little something to do with it too.
Pardon me?
I said, I suspect the added free money that everybody's getting now has to do with it. They got more expendable money because everybody's getting that $250 or $300 per month for a child tax credit in the mail every month. And what do you do when you got money you weren't expected to have? I bet not much of it really gets spent on the children it was meant for.
That could be, I don't know.
Thanks.
Any other? Okay, next item, planning board, Mr. Hand.
There's no minutes from our last meeting. We do have a meeting tomorrow night, however. We're still working on the Beaver Pride subdivision and some growing pains with that. There probably need to be a change in ordinance so we can handle that better, but that's coming down the pipe.
Okay, we'll move on. Zoning commission.
No minutes, no report. We do have a meeting next Tuesday at 7 o'clock in this room to go over the facts and findings of the public hearing. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you. Director of Operations, Mr. Hazelbaker.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and to add to the meetings, we have a Board of Adjustments meeting October 14th at 7 o'clock in this room. It'll be our quarterly meeting. City activities, street alley guys are looking at paving, using the Rejuvenator. Get that fired up and start going around doing some of those smaller projects. Get it fired up and do a project over in California. Guys are working on the fence over here in the old Carpeta building. Water guys have been helping with the water project and then various other things. Big shout out to Jason Johnson for all his hard work. He was kind of a loner last week and covered a lot of bases. So a big thank you to him. Parks, winterizing, getting ready for winter, which I guess is coming next week. The same at the cemetery, same thing, winterizing. Den's been awfully busy with cemetery activities, and then the bus, just ridership was down this month a little bit, but that's because school started and not as many kids riding. And that happens about every year, so. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
We heard
I
it.
should make volleyball.
I know, Miss Volleyball. The 406 dinner was tonight.
Yes, 6 o'clock.
Police Department, Chief Giverson.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't have anything pressing right now, just a couple of things. We've had some officers gone for training, that along with COVID and some struggles with getting shifts filled and whatnot, have put our overtime up a little bit. And September's always bad anyways because of Labor Day. So Quentin, our officer Wheatley, is at the academy right now doing his Montana legal equivalency, and I couldn't be happier with the job that he's doing. He's an amazing officer, and we're very, very lucky to have him. And we're all keeping busy. So we'd be more than happy to answer any questions.
You have a pressing issue. I see you brought the assistant chief with you tonight for backup.
I'm his backup. He's got the vest on, so I don't know, depending on if somebody gets mad enough at me, I'm just gonna jump behind him. So, yeah, my vest doesn't fit me anymore for obvious reasons. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Fire Department, Fire Chief Closey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. In your packet, you'll find the month of August activity report.
Moved by Dan, second by Russ. Discussion.
Call for the question.
Questions being called for to approve the August, so August, September.
That's August. That is August.
Hey.
Stacy has September's. It'll show up on next meeting.
Okay. Sorry, we'll start again. Approve the August 2021 activity report for the fire department. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take that as unanimous.
Thank you. And if there's any questions?
You got tired of being on a pumper yet?
Yes. The last one from Alder Creek was released today.
Oh my.
So we're all done?
Alder Creek is done. Trail Creek, they're still grading roads and doing rehab, stuff like that there.
We have equipment there then?
No, everything is home.
Okay, we'll move on. Thank you. And Old City Court. City Treasurer, Ms. Kip.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. We have in your packets the cash summary report for August 2021, the bank reconciliation report for August 2021, and the collateral report from Stockton Bank for 2021.
Move to approve.
Second.
That's just for all three?
Yep.
Okay. Now you had Bill made the motion and Russ seconded it. Discussion.
How did the changeover to the new credit card work out so far?
Pretty good. Yeah, and we've gotten some more people using the ACH function in, online,
Good,
so,
good.
yay.
Call for the question.
Questions we call for to approve the cash summary report for August 2021, the cash bank reconciliation report for August 2021, and the collateral report from the Sockman Bank for August 2021. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, guys, unanimous for 3. Anything more, Karen?
Not right now.
Any questions for Karen? Okay, thank you. Tree board, I don't see any minutes. You did have a meeting, I think, the other.
The tree board, yeah, we met last night, so next packet you'll have the minutes. But I reported at the last meeting that it was the day we started with our bake days at Great Harvest. And there were 3 great days, and we were thrilled that it was just shy of $13,000. So we were very busy on those 3 days, and we thank everybody who came and supported that. We are in the process of finalizing another, I'm not quite sure how much money we would get out of this grant, but I think somewhere between $5,000 and $7,000. And it would be matching funds for what the city already has budgeted for the taking out and replanting of boulevard trees. So it just has the benefit of actually doubling, what we have budgeted already. But also we're thinking that maybe in the future we won't have quite those funds available. So if we could, do a couple years worth of work this year, then we might be able to ease the burden in the future. But we don't, we'll see if that one comes through.
Okay.
Are we coordinating the boulevard trees with street and alley?
Do we coordinate the boulevard trees with street and
The
alley?
ones you're taking out with the ones you're putting in, make sure we aren't creating a future problem down the way? 'Cause I don't know which ones you're talking about removing, that's the only reason I asked.
Oh, we don't coordinate the street and alley, we coordinate with the property owners. And even though they do not, the city theoretically owns that, correct?
Correct.
So but we want to make sure that we keep good relationships with those landowners. So that's who we try and coordinate with. And then we plant back using cost share trees. So the property owner, the trees cost us approximately $175, and the tree board puts in $100, and the landowner puts in $75, plus we plant it. We plant the tree professionally and we stake it for them. But not with, there might be one tree that this time that we should coordinate with street and alley. I think that's a great idea. There is one tree that's the mother of all trees.
I know some of the trees downtown created fruit, and that caused problems for the shop owners, for example. They're always getting tracked in and such. And some of the shop owners were very unhappy with the kind of tree put in. That's why I was asking.
The only
And I don't know if that's
experience
recent or not.
The only experience I've had with that, Don, is there is in front of State Farm Insurance, we did remove that tree and replanted, but actually the business owner did not want us to take out the tree. I mean, he waited until that tree was practically, horizontal before he allowed us to take it out. But we replanted also.
Okay, just wondering. Thank you.
The only other thing I wanted to mention, well, I'm sorry, that's in another report. So my big news was the big day.
Now, the trees downtown, the main problem with them is not the height, but it's the fruit. I know they planted the trees, it was like 10, 12 years ago, some of them there, maybe more. But they chose the ones that had really nice looking blooms, which then turns into fruit. And that's what gets squished everywhere. You know, and it's really hard to get the city crew, because it's not really our problem, it's their problem to take care of the sidewalks.
But even the fruit on the street still tends to come up to the street sweeper, so.
And that's why I talked to the street board a couple of years ago, would love to have them all removed and put in with acceptable trees that do not have fruit.
That would seem to be wise.
Yep. I'll talk to the tree board one more time.
And that is, the other thing that the tree board has talked about is that our greatest partner in the work that we've done has been the mayor. So we hope we get one more session with you.
Okay.
It would be a fun one.
There's no need to kiss up, I'm leaving. Okay.
Maybe we should have made some hard cider.
Cookie? That might be the last meeting of this year.
Sugar loaf? Insert cookie, dude.
They were good, thank you. All right, next item is report standing committees of the City Council, Judiciary, Mr. Nye.
Yes, before you, we have the minutes of September 21st. Ask for your approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
I heard Diane this time.
Yeah.
And that was the motion, and Russ made second. Discussion.
Is there an issue here on section 12-10, it says street vacation? Are we sending them off to Hawaii?
Yes.
Or is this just mean that no longer the use of the street? The wording just seems funny, that's all.
Yeah, it does sound like a place for a homeless encampment, doesn't it? Yeah.
We're still working on it.
Yes, it appears you've been quite busy.
Maybe street abandonment might be one.
Well, I don't know what the proper terminology is, but yeah. I knew what it was, it just sounded entertaining, that's all.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the September 21st, 2021 meeting minutes of the Judiciary Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take it as unanimous.
Nothing else. We have our meeting, what, 2 weeks?
Third Tuesday. I think we already looked that up once.
Yeah.
Yep, 19th of October. Okay, next item, Finance Committee, Mr. Hand.
Before you in your package, you have our minutes from our last meeting. Ask for your acceptance.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Dan, seconded by Russ. Discussion.
Doesn't take long to read the minutes from our meeting, I'll tell you what.
Call for the question.
Questions we call for to approve the September 30th, 2021 committee meeting minutes of the Finance Committee. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. I take that as unanimous.
And then I'd like your acceptance of the line item budget report, fund summary claims, and the claims by vendor report, and the budget versus actual report, all for September 2021, please.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Diane, seconded by Russ. Discussion.
Call for the question then.
Question's been called for to approve the line item budget report for September 2021, the fund summary for claims for September 2021, claims by vendor report for September 2021, budget versus actual report for September 2021. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Day is unanimous.
We did start some minor discussions too about having a full income audit of the city books with the change of administration coming, so there's a clean slate. In addition to our normal yearly audit of procedures. So this will be something you haven't seen before. Basically, it's, you know, are we putting the money for the dog tags in the right spot? Are we putting the money for the street developments in the right spot? This kind of thing. That's what it will amount to be. We still have to ask our accountants, or our, I should say, our evaluators, if that's something that's doable, and if so, what the additional cost would be. So we can present that to the council for approval. That completes my report.
Thank you. Next item, Power and Order Committee, Mr. Schaefer.
No meeting, no report, but we'll have one shortly.
Health and Welfare, Mr. McGinley.
No meeting, no report. A meeting is getting scheduled.
Yep.
So is it at our usual time?
You guys want to do the 9 o'clock, or do you want a later date, or later time? Same date, but later time.
Either the 9 or the 4, either one is fine with me.
Well, the 4 is City Hall. I'm not sure if I think we're having a City Hall too. Maybe not.
So the 9 o'clock at
You want to do 9? Okay, yep,
If City
same
Hall-
time.
okay, and that would be on October 21st at 9 a.m.
Whatever the third Thursday.
21st.
At 9.
Yeah, we should be looking at you, your health and welfare. Aren't you?
Yeah.
Okay, next one, Cemetery Committee. Ms. Armstrong.
No meeting, no report.
Parks Committee, Ms. O'Rourke.
Yes, before you in your packets are minutes from the September 22nd meeting.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved by Russ, seconded by Bill, discussion.
I do have a correction to these minutes, and I'll read it, and it would go, you know, it could be under any of the A, B, and C's under number 2. So we could just add an E or move everything down, whatever. But it would read, Jim Volek reported that the city needs to budget an additional $4,000 per year to close down and winterize the splash pad by Splash Pad USA. He went on and said that this process is so labor intensive, it cannot be accomplished by volunteers. And so he was just informing the city that in the past they have been able to have Splash Pad USA come in and close down the splash pad because it was under warranty and because there were some problems. But from now and into the future, that process will cost about $4,000, not about, it will cost $4,000 per year. And so he wanted to inform us that we should be aware of that. So that would be my only addition to the minutes.
Is that for equipment plus labor?
I think it is what they pay Splash Pad USA to come in, and it's very, very labor intensive. They have a ton of workers, and they take off every single piece that is on the splash pad, and then they drain it and blow it out. and lock it down. And he said, you know, it's just a long, hard day, and you need lots of labor.
I know I went by this year when they were doing it, they had quite a blight of bottles out there of MRE antifreeze. If that's the case, if the city has to do that, perhaps we ought to look into buying that by the 55-gallon drum for the individual bottles.
Well, and because it is so specific, and it's very specific to splash pads, they really would like us to continue to have Splash Pad USA do that process.
But don't we have damages from last year's freeze-up that hasn't been repaired yet, too?
Well, we have several issues,
I think it's
2 or
broken
3.
pipe, isn't there someplace? Who
No,
got
I
blocked
think-
off?
I'll answer that question now, because I want to answer you exactly correctly. So I will answer that at the next meeting, or I'll get you an email.
Okay, that's fine.
Okay.
I don't think there's a pipe broke, it's leaking around the drains. The drains aren't sealed up tight, so it's not going into the drains, it's going underneath the pad. Sounds like what I've heard.
The drain at the bottom of the slide
Yes.
was not sealed around, not very tight, so the water was running down underneath that.
That was part of the water loss of 1,200 gallons a day, huh?
Yeah, that's where the water
Isn't
was
that,
running.
shouldn't that be covered under warranty then? I thought that's why we have these guys to cover the warranty.
Warranty
No.
is too.
But that's probably been corrected, hasn't it, Mr. Hazelbaker?
Not at this time, it's not. And one of the things that was discussed at the meeting was that, and we've talked about before, is the setting aside of $4,000 a year. Because once the Friends of J.C. Park, we receive their funds, then we will not be receiving those funds anymore. So one of the things that was suggested, as Mr. Volek, was that we start setting aside $4,000 a year to cover the costs of maintaining the splash pad, so that we continually have that fund to pay for all the supplies, the help. Again, what Russ is volunteering to during the summer. Very nice of him to do that. So that was the main focus around the $4,000, setting it aside. So that when we no longer have that $4,000 a year coming from them, then we have money account to build up.
$4,000 that we're getting from Friends of the Park, J.C. Park. That's for 10 years, isn't it?
I think,
Yeah,
let me
And then they want to pay it
clarify
off early.
that.
Excuse me.
I'm sorry.
And we've collected, well, I'm not sure collected, they have paid us 3 years. And what they'd like to do is pay us a lump sum, which would be about $28,000.
So they haven't been paying us $4,000?
Oh, yeah, they have, yes.
Now, won't that cover it for the next?
7 years.
Two different things.
It covers their basic supplies and the pay for the help.
So this is gonna be another cost to the city, to the Parks Department?
Once that 10 years.
Well, obviously, the 4,000 isn't covering all of it, so where's the rest of it coming from?
The 4,000 we get does cover their supplies and the help. Like, that's my,
But it
that's
don't
what
cover
it's
the.
It doesn't cover the.
Well, it does not cover any,
Winterizer.
no, it does not.
It might pay a little part of it, but,
So-
and there's a little left over after you pay the salaries and the equipment, paying parts of the equipment. But that won't, if it's $4,000 to winterize, there's not that much there.
And one of the things that was discussed at the meeting was that the next time we would do it, we would start doing the winterizing.
Well,
Because Jim
let me
and Cruz-
clarify what went on. I listened to that meeting 3 times. So there are 3 costs. And the first cost is the cost for the supplies and the chemicals and the labor to go in and turn the splash pad on each day, do the testing, and just do the regular maintenance. And that cost, they estimated at $4,000 per year. And the Friends of the J.C. Park have agreed to pay $4,000 to the city for a period of 10 years. And they have paid that $4,000 each of the 3 years. There is another cost that is that Mr. Bollock brought to our attention, and that is the closing down and the winterization of the splash pad. That costs $4,000 per year and has not been budgeted in the past, but he wanted us to budget it in the future. So, and we were very glad to get that information. There is a third expense that he brought to our attention, and that is, after that 10 years is over with, they will no longer be giving that $4,000 a year to the city. So he said, could you, right now, start a little savings account for the J.C. Park splash pad and put in maybe $1,000 or $2,000 a year and let that account accrue so that at the end of 10 years, it's not such a big deal. Because by then it may have gone up from $4,000 to $5,000. I think Mayor Clacken and I spoke on the phone 2 days after this meeting, and we came up with 2 different ideas of ways that the Parks Committee and others could fund the parks in the future. And so we'll be working on that. I mean, I know that it seems like it's really a burden to the city, and I respect that. And we are going to work on ways of funding those parks in the future.
Well, my other question is how much has the city had to pay out for repairs and things on this splash pad so far? So not only do we have the $4,000 extra that we got to start budgeting for, plus we've got to budget for other things that may come along.
We paid approximately, I think, $4,500.
For the last 3 years?
No, just this last year.
So you're
Because we
looking
had
at,
the new pump, we had the ultraviolet.
So then this year, we're at about $12,000 in expense for the splash pad.
No.
No.
Where we had, I'm not saying what the city paid, but. I'm
Roughly
saying
85.
This splash pad alone, if we have $4,000 in routine maintenance, $4,000 in closing it down, and we spent almost $4,000 in parts, that's almost $12,000.
So you're
Okay,
looking at
but for this year, we did not have to pay for.
Well, I didn't say what we paid, I just said what the parks expense was.
Correct.
It's about $12,000 a year.
Would have been this year, but this year we didn't pay, or they did not pay for the shutdown. They did not pay for that this year. So this year alone was only roughly $8,500. Sorry.
but what I'm getting at is down the future, we're gonna
Yes.
need to be looking at $12,000, not $4,000.
A bit more than 12.
Well, as
Every year that splash pad gets older, you can increase the amount of damage, repair, and nothing's going down.
Just out of curiosity, do we keep any kind of a census as to how many people use the splash pad in a year?
We haven't, no.
There's a lot of people using it. I'm not saying that, but.
Yeah. It'd just be interesting to know how many people are using it, that's all.
That's a really great idea to somehow put a counter. There's just one gate that you go through to go on into the splash pad. Of course, I run in and out like this.
I see kids do that all the time.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
But that's a great idea. I mean, somehow we should be able to get a count.
Well, this
It might be easier to justify the $12,000 a year to maintain it
I
then.
will say this might be something that the finance committee might want to start looking into too, because it's going to be a pretty big line item for the budget coming.
Yeah.
Probably next year, it sounds like.
How many phone calls does the city get when the park is not open?
Oh, when the splash pad's down?
When the splash
Oh.
pad's
No.
down?
Oh.
That's the question to ask there.
Zero.
They call you.
The rest of the phone that day.
That's a lot of people want.
I was on the council for only 1 month and I was getting calls.
Yeah.
We love the splash pad, we love the splash pad, we love the splash pad.
We've had a long time discussion. Have anybody made the motion and seconded it?
Yeah.
To approve the minutes.
Yes.
Well, could we, does it need to be amended to approve the minutes as
Okay,
corrected?
as amended, the person that seconded is okay?
Yes.
Okay.
And also these two.
And that
So
was
we're-
actually said at the meeting?
Pardon?
So that was actually said at the meeting?
Yes. Yeah, this was the first thing he said. It should be number A under, or no, it should be number B, or letter B.
Okay, all those in favor of approving September 22nd, 2021 meeting minutes of the Parks Committee as amended, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. Take it as unanimous. Okay, we'll move on. City Hall Committee, Mr. Graham, well, you wasn't here, who was the one that, I think Dan or John?
John, yeah.
Okay,
You'll find the minutes of our September 16th meeting in your packet. I ask you to approve them.
Second.
moved by Bill, seconded by Russ, discussion.
First paragraph, under number 2, where, let's see, Councilman Nye moved to table this item permanently and to not recommend to this, sending forward to the city council. Councilman Nye seconded, this Councilman McGinnis
You said I wanted to make sure that got done.
So it was
Yeah, I seconded it, yes.
Call for the question.
Questions we call for to approve the September 16, 2021 meeting minutes of the City Hall Committee as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take it as unanimous.
Also, you'll have in there the council's rules for procedure. I ask you to consider.
Move to approve.
Second.
Been moved by Dan, seconded by Russ, discussion.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
on section 4, that would be on page 7.
So we're under part 10 or part what?
Part 11,
Part 11,
yes,
and then number 4,
right.
under
Or
censure.
not part, I just, the whole section.
The censure and removal from office, that part, okay.
I guess I have, for a long time, been very concerned about people's civility in public discourse. And this part really worries me. I wondered if it was the committee's intention to remove anyone who has violated federal laws from the council. Is that the intention of this part?
Last I heard, when this came through, it was because of a case in, I don't know, Big Fork or something like that, where they had to remove a councilman up there. And that's, Mr. Dolan, I think we put this in here, didn't you, talking about that case, if I can remember back.
I don't have mine.
But it was some case in another city that they couldn't get rid of a city councilman. He was out soapboxing all over, it sounded like it. So that's more or less this is, because of that case is, let's put it in the thing if we need to, something happens in the future.
Isn't that item number 9 on the next page? That first paragraph on the next page? The incumbent's conviction of a felony or any offense involving moral turpitude or a violation of official duties? Isn't that what you're in reference to at this point?
It's in reference to number 9 in specifically, but I'm concerned about the whole tenor of part 11. I mean, I guess when I first read it, it struck me as, I think we want to elevate our discourse, not create an environment where things could become petty. And I'm not sure that this is what would elevate our discourse. The idea of you know, I mean, just as Councilman McGinley just talked about, that there was a case where somebody was soapboxing, and I'm not sure what that means.
I don't know what it was,
I'll explain. That's the Shoemaker versus Thompson Falls case. And Shoemaker was the finance officer. And this particular council member went around insinuating that this Shoemaker had embezzled money and mismanaged money and had engaged in, and then I think there was some allegations of sexual harassment that were raised by Ms. Shoemaker. The council member went after her for that. And so it got extremely ugly very, very quickly. And so the upshot of that case was a fairly substantial settlement with the Montana Human Rights Bureau, and I think
which is correct.
yeah. And with, I believe, the city of Thompson Falls as well. So I think, this part 11 is really geared more toward that, not because somebody has the whole views different than somebody else on the council. That wouldn't fall. That won't work.
And really, why part 11 came about, to even be put into the rules, is you already, if you notice under censor just tells that one person that the council, a majority of the council decided that they didn't like the way some person was acting. Okay? And all it is the censor saying, we didn't like the way you act, didn't do anything, doesn't go into some file, some record, besides it's in the minutes. Okay, that's what censure is. You don't lose your position or any of that. Okay, and if you notice, there's a Montana code annotated that already covers that. And it says the council may determine the rules of its proceedings, punish its members for improper conduct, and expel any member for the same by 2/3 vote of the members elected. The expel is that other part down there too, under removal from office. They can also punish its members for improper conduct. That would be more of the censors, kind of thing. If you look under removal from office, our charter says a council member may be removed from office by a finding adopted by the affirmative vote of 5 council members, that the office has become vacant as prescribed by law. And that's what the section right below that is saying, what the Montana Code annotated 744111 is, how is a position considered vacant? And that was just put in there, all those things makes the position vacant. And so you can go through and look in there. So really what all this is using the law that's already there, and you're trying to, I don't really want to use the word solidify, but give a procedure on how it can be done. So everybody isn't sitting around going what to do, and off they will go and maybe put more risk to the city. Now you'll have, if this passes, you will then have a procedure to follow.
Now the point is to provide procedural and substantive due process.
Yep.
if we need to do that.
And that's why the removal from office is way more, it's considered way more important. Everybody has the right, you get the investigation, you get to defend yourself, you can bring a lawyer in, you can have witnesses, you can have all of that for the removal. It's a trial, is what it is.
And hire Alan Dershowitz.
Good if you want.
I guess, Mr. Mayor, it seems to me that we are a body of volunteers.
No, we're not volunteers.
We are volunteers.
We are poorly paid professionals, we're not volunteers.
No, I don't get paid.
But the procedure is in place for you to be. You're elected not to be.
I don't think anybody is paid. I think that people are given a stipend to cover their copying costs and things like that, but they are not paid as you would an employee. We do not have an employee-employer relationship with the city. We are volunteers.
Then why are we holding payroll taxes?
We're elected.
We're elected officials.
And if you look in the budget book, under employees, the council's listed. And you guys get your money, your stipend comes from various funds. I mean, and you're paying workers, not workers' comp, you're paying
Fight that.
Yeah, workers.
workers' comp, that's it. In
Social
case you get
Security.
hurt here. Well, and Social Security, you gotta pay that stuff always by federal law. So you're paying that, you're an employee, an elected official employee.
So we can file regular grievances and we can, I don't think that's,
You can file grievances, doesn't mean I'll listen to anything.
I guess I
If you wanna
want it to be on record that I think that this is not, we already have much of this process in our charter. And we have a hard enough time getting people to serve on the city council. And I think that this does not elevate our discussions or our standing. It simply makes it more petty.
And again, what this is not trying to be petty or anything on this. You can do these things, but if you look under the censor, the city council may determine the rules of its proceedings. That's what this is. You know, punish its members. You're supposed to have it in this document. How do you do that? You can't just go out and randomly pick that one time and off you go and you'll either censor or remove somebody. I mean, you can probably do it, but you want to end up in court fast, just do that. This at least gives you a procedure to follow that you can try to follow. If you don't, you're actually putting yourself at risk too. You know, that's what, or could be, I'm not saying you are.
Well, I think you have a more defensible case when you have a roadmap to follow. Then that way you've got a record maybe of what you followed. And you can say in court, if the person, let's say you censure, or let's just say you expel somebody, they want their position back on the council, you can at least reflect the record to the court and say, this is what we did. This is why we did what we did. Rather than just, stick your finger up, lick it, and see which way it went. That's a lot less defensible case.
Well, and I think it's good to have this too, because this also lays down guidelines for the council. So we know what to expect if we do something silly. We can look at this, if I do that, they can do this. I mean,
Has
it's
this been
it's
a
really a
problem?
two-way
Has
street.
this been a problem, Raymond?
Well, what's it been? 6 years ago, we expelled 7 members of the council for doing an illegal act, so
I know.
yeah, I say it has been a problem.
I think they were recalled.
Right.
They weren't expelled, they were recalled.
And it says recall in here too.
Right.
It was on.
Well,
one
right,
of the-
right, technically they all resigned, but the judge actually ruled that 7 of them broke the Montana law.
And
You
the
found-
process worked, didn't it? It worked 6 years ago. it
After
worked.
about almost a year. And
I think this
It's actually
sets
a
up a
process
system
that the
where
council
we
should
would,
prepare themselves.
we could get spinning our wheels and chasing our tails for months on end.
Well, I don't think this will ever be used again, to be honest with you, but I still think it's important to have it in the books on how you want to do it. I mean, this rule or procedure ain't no different than the same procedures we have for when the officers write a traffic citation. There's a rules of procedure how they do that. And this is all we're doing, is a rule of procedure on how we're gonna do it if we wanna do something. You have to have a way laid out for the, I'm gonna say defendant in this case, to defend himself. This lays out a way for the defendant in this case to defend himself. Without this, really, the council can come in and say, we're gonna do this, but there would be no roadmap on how the person they're doing it to has the right to defend himself. This actually lays out that he has the right to defend himself too. This is a two-way thing. It's not just, we're gonna do this to you, but if you're doing this to you, or if we're doing this to you, you have the right to defend yourself. And I don't mean you in general, I just, whatever member of this is happening to, the member has the right to defend himself. And that's what this is laying out for.
I have one minor thing, and that is that at the top of page 8, we have a list of things 1 through 11, and with apologies to Mr. Schwan, I think we should be consistent and have those 1 through 11 like everything else is in the stuff.
Yes.
Well, formatted like a regular list,
Yes,
is what you're saying,
correct.
Mr. Dolan, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I think you're right.
Everything else is done as a list.
Subsequential A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Yeah.
7, 8, 9, 10, 11.
Exactly. Thank you.
Rush your lead scoop.
All right.
So you did it intend to keep number 9.
Mm-hmm.
Number 9. Oh, you know that list, you mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it's also, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if one of you die, you council has to vote to say the position's empty. I mean, it doesn't just happen, you guys gotta vote to say this position now is considered empty, we're gonna fill it. I mean, you don't have to make that statement, it's like, when somebody resigns, you guys then say, okay, let's post it to be filled, let's ask for people to sign up. Okay, so now that with that, you decided at that point the position's empty, and that would be number 3. Now, so you made a decision then that that position's empty and you're gonna fill it, and then it takes 5 council people to fill it. I mean, it's all set up like that kind of thing. So it isn't just 9, it's all of them.
I guess I would bring up number 5 though. It says absent from the city or town continuously. I think our charter says state.
I don't think our charter says anything about it.
Or I always thought it was absent from
And
state.
it used to be, and then they changed it, I think.
Okay,
State
so-
code changed, because it used to say out of the state. But now they just said continuously away from the city or town, period.
Without, so I guess we need to make a note for that. If you can go on
So
the-
that's a new thing showing that it did change. Because when I was typing that in, I noticed that, it's like, wait a minute, we're state, you know.
Call for the question.
Question's been called for to approve the amending council rules of procedure for setting the public time limits and the rules for council committees and the procedure for council member removal or censure, as amended. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, I'll take this as unanimous. I didn't hear a yay or nay. Anything else? John, Mr. Gimley,
What's that?
is there anything else?
No, nothing else.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Street and Alley Committee, Mr. Nye.
We were scheduled for a meeting yesterday, but we had to cancel. Or what?
It's rescheduled to,
Yeah.
no, Tuesday. Monday's a holiday.
Yeah.
So Tuesday,
12?
2.
2.
And then Tuesday at 4 is water and sewer. Which brings us to Water and Sewer Committee, Mr. Hand.
No meeting, no report.
Thank you. Okay, last item on the agenda. Public comment on items of significant public interest not on the agenda within the jurisdiction of the city.
Mr. Mayor, I will be out of the state for approximately 4 to 6 weeks to have a kidney transplant performed. I'm leaving Friday morning. I will try to make myself available via Zoom or cell phone, however. So, I'll ask for your permission to be gone out of the state.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Russ, seconded by Dan. Any further discussion?
All support.
Question's been called for. Let's use 6 weeks. How's that? Just in case. Hopefully it's 3.
Yeah, that'd be better. A lot cheaper, too.
Good luck, Don.
Thank you. Good luck. Don to be out of the state for up to 6 weeks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Take that as unanimous. Is there any other public comment?
Yes, I would like to understand what happened to the bill I proposed last month at the meeting. Is that the one you tabled at the
City Hall.
City Hall meeting?
Yes.
Okay, could I get a copy of those minutes? And I would like to know if there is a process in place in Dillon for a citizens initiative and what the requirements are for that.
I think so. Is there by law that you got it? Everybody, every government has an initiative, don't they?
Yeah, power initiative, it does, but it's not up to me to advise the private citizen on how to.
Well, no, but I
But
think
there is a process there.
I think it's laid out in state code. Under initiatives, I think it's like, look under Title 7, I think. Not telling you for sure, it's somewhere around, it's in state
If you
code.
talk to the clerk of, the election administrator at the courthouse, she'll be able to lay that out.
Yeah,
She'll tell you what it's at.
yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Okay, so the status of it is it permanently quashed? Is that my understanding?
Well, I would put the motion out of the committee.
Yeah.
If the council wants to take it back up and assign it to another committee, they may, or otherwise, yes, it's squashed.
Okay, I would like to remind the council again that there is quite a bit of majority support in this town for it. This was a few days in front of the post office gathering 100 signatures. I'm sure it could, sure I could probably get 3,000 if I had the time, which would be the majority of the town. So is there any way we can get that moving forward? And in respect to these two gentlemen over here, I want to make clear that it is not at all an anti-police legislation or bill in any way. It's a pro-public.
I think if I was you, and I was that strongly for that, I would go through the initiative process. Because you get the people behind you, the council will have to follow.
Well, let me, just to clarify, I'm not a lawyer. An initiative makes law, right? If the city or whoever that's in front of votes with a majority, then it becomes a law, right?
Yes.
Right.
So it isn't really us making it, it would be the people making the law.
And it's just like all the other initiatives, we could get together and do what people said not to do, they do it all the time. The legislature does it all the time, I mean.
Well, I know.
Here's a good example now, just this last session, they voted to reinstate the private elk licenses for guides. You have to have a guide, even though the public actually overwhelmingly voted that you guys can't have a private elk license, but now they're gonna require 60% of the licenses have to be, you have to hire a guide to get. So, out of state licenses, even though they voted not to do that, the people. So it can be overruled still, but I really think the initiative process is where you need to go with your, let the people speak.
I can see that, I can see that. Thank you for your time.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor, since I was looked at and spoke to about this too, I'd just like to say that I don't think I took that as an anti-law enforcement bill. I think I took it as an anti-accountability bill because it specifically states that we couldn't use surveillance from like a gas station, from somebody's doorbell monitor to prosecute a crime. And that's why I made the statements I did, because that would no longer be able to use that as evidence with a crime. Even if somebody recorded it, you couldn't use that as evidence in a crime, which.
Well, that's what the thing was.
Could I get a copy of those minutes where Mr. Giverson made those statements?
I wrote down, I changed the minutes on mine. The second, I'll get somebody.
The city government.
Somebody just got dropped.
Sir, you dropped maybe your phone in front of the mirror?
Don't have it on.
Oh,
No.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other public comment?
Call for adjournment then.
Second.
Don made the motion, seconded by Bill. All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say nay. And Ken